Welcome to the last episode of this special edition of the Beyond Sundays podcast, where we bring you stories of God's faithfulness from people just like you, because the God who did still does. In this episode, join our host, Zach Vassar, one last time as he sits down with a few guys to talk about the importance of brotherhood. What is it? What does it look like? And why does it matter? I'm so thankful for the vulnerability of these guys as they get real and honest about their own rock bottom moments. Same is true for all of our guests in this entire mini-series. Y'all, we've been blessed. Today, you'll hear how vulnerability and accountability can lead to greater levels of freedom and deeper levels of friendship. So let's get to it.
I'm excited about our conversation. Thank you guys for doing it. These guys are very unique to me. I've gotten to know them in different stages of life. They know each other, some extremely well, some new, and we're really just talking about brotherhood. So just to kick off, you guys tell a little bit about yourself, but the big thing I want you to talk about just right here is how did you connect to the guy you're connected to at this table? Anybody can just go.
Sure. Well, that's Adam Wargo over there.
Let's introduce each other. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Let's introduce each other.
Yeah, right. I'm not Adam Wargo. No. So my name is Franz Hallgren, and Adam and I met at boot camp.
Okay.
And I couldn't tell you what boot camp that was.
5-6 years ago,
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been friends ever since. And you know, it's been good. I mean, I think that our relationship has been stronger now than it was in the beginning. It wasn't quite, full-time best friends, but now we have Life 360. We can see where each other are all the time.
So track each other
we've graduated
100%.
into that.
100%.
100%.
You weren't in the friend zone like you thought you were.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go there.
What do y'all have most in common?
Hunting.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Shooting pigs.
Shooting pigs.
Franz makes his own bullets. And
I sell my
Adam
bullets to
shoots 'em.
Adam.
Yeah.
No.
How does your
Franz got
pet
me
pig feel
started.
about that?
Yeah. I give her extra treats when I come home, so.
That's fair.
Explain what you got to explain.
So I have a pet pig. I have a bunch of animals, but yes, I have a pet pig as well as I go hunting.
It stays in the house.
Kill a lot of pigs, yes.
Yeah. Well, and actually he let a pig loose too, so he contributed to the feral pig problem.
Yeah, so.
And we may or may not have shot it.
I didn't let it loose. It got loose, but sure.
Wow.
Sure.
So if you guys are listening, we're coming to you from Texas. And in Texas, some people do things sometimes a little bit differently. I do not have a pet pig. I have 2 pet dogs. They're lap dogs. They're little girl dogs. They're princesses. They got haircuts yesterday.
Oh, boy.
And so just so you know, we're everywhere here. Cameron, how'd you get into this?
So I went to boot camp for my first time last year, and these two, Adam and Franz, were in my life group or fire team. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I feel that it was a pretty. Looking back on it, didn't want to go to boot camp. And it's kind of interesting to hear them say, y'all been friends for the last 5 or 6 years because of boot camp. And, I'm one of those guys that when I connect with somebody, I just want to maintain that relationship throughout because, I don't like, meeting somebody, them just, pour life into me and then I don't see them anymore. That's not really kind of how I operate. And same thing with you, Zach. I met you, I don't know, how long ago? 6-7 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of worked the same way for me. So, the three of y'all have kind of just been a steadiness with my spiritual journey for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, let's go into some of that. Just some ways you guys obviously can catch that these guys are very close. Cameron came new into that relationship. These guys have all mentioned boot camp a few times. That's a men's retreat that we do. You probably have already caught that in some of these, but that's coming up in September, right around the corner, actually, September 21st through 24th. And so we're at a really big church, and I've always told guys, if you want to connect at a place like this, and with women too, if you will just make space to get to this place, you're going to find more like-minded men than you didn't even really know were there, sitting right next to you every Sunday. But there's something real special about that, and then common interest in things you have, even outside of just what you like to, you're into, your wives, your kids, family, and real life starts happening. I mean, that's the goal, is that you aren't doing this alone. And so, thinking about that right there, you guys have been through things. I know that since y'all have been in your friendship, you've had to be hospitalized with a tumor and had experienced, wild trauma in that. I'd love to get into that. I'm sure you probably were a part of this in some sort of way. I know just when I met Adam it's been a little bit now.
Yeah.
I kind of knew Adam in
6
passing,
months, 7 months,
I kind of knew
something
y'all were
like that.
friends, but then all of a sudden he's got, what did you have?
Rhabdo.
It's like, this is something I probably will never have. To get rhabdo, you got to work out too much. And so he's laid up in the hospital. He goes in for a day, ends up being there for a week. Mm-hmm. And so I go just to visit, me and Kevin, and we're hanging out. But what I realized there is, these guys are real close. Like, Franz is there every day, every night, bringing him food, doing the things, just a real true, these are what brothers would do. Like, and at the core of what the Bible would show us in that is, a lot of times, you think about the prodigal son, you have these two brothers that are in like competition. And the dad's trying to show them that, no, we're both equally part of the family. And I think, like, when guys are drawing nearer to the kingdom, you want to see the other do great things. You want to help them when they're struggling. It's not a competition. It's not, and so that you guys have found that. It's just so powerful. So talk a little bit about that. Like, what does that mean to you guys to have that in your life?
Yeah. So, well, just to piggyback on what you were saying, like, boot camp, one of the big things, it's a transformative experience, absolutely. But you do meet a lot of people, right? And then in that experience, a lot of times what you'll find is people finally stop pretending and be real, and they be real in front of other people. And usually that starts some type of close bond.
Yeah.
And in that, you get what I've always called accountability buddy, right? You need an accountability buddy. You need somebody who knows
Accountability buddy.
Accountability.
Accountability buddy.
Accountability.
That's
buddy.
Accountability buddy.
That's
how you
yeah.
I'm not going to say that
Accountability.
word at all.
Anyways,
Say it 5 times.
No.
Don't do that.
Anyways, but in all honesty, I think we grow up as kids, going through high school, college, whatever, and you always have that tight group of friends that you grow up with that kind of knows everything that you're going through.
Yeah.
Whether you and your parents aren't getting along, or this or that, or whatever experiences you're having. But I think as life gets in the way, as you get married, as you get a job, as you move, you lose that. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly you don't have that group of friends who can keep you accountable, support you, be there when you need it, and also celebrate your victories.
Yeah.
And I think at boot camp, that's where a lot of guys get back into that.
That's
and
good.
So I think, and I know I'm making a shameless plug about boot camp, but honestly, that's what developed our group. And so Franz and I started 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is sometimes these relationships take time, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a 100%, oh my gosh, transformative experience. Sometimes it takes a while, but like with Cameron here last year, we started we had a fire team, all new people except for Franz and I. And we started a chat group. And now that chat group all day, every day is
Still
going
now,
on.
a year later.
A year later.
You guys are connected every day.
Every day we are talking. And it used to be about once a month we've had breakfast between summer and vacations and everything. I think we kind of stopped doing
Sure.
that quite as much. But even still, at any given time, someone can say, hey, I have an issue. I need some prayer.
Yeah.
Hey, this just happened. Awesome. Congratulations. That stuff is constantly happening. And I don't know. I think a lot of guys are missing that exact experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting themselves be known.
Yeah, and like I kind of lost track in the beginning, but Adam and I have more in common than just hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like we both went through re-engage, and it's kind of the same deal, where you get in like a smaller group. And I think you'd be really surprised, because a lot of times I think as a just a person in general, if I was being completely honest, you kind of look at these groups sometimes and you meet these people and you're like, I got to be in group with that guy, And,
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And Adam and I mean, you'd just be surprised. You go through stuff and you get in group with people, and then you're willing to talk about yourself, and other people start talking about themselves, and then you start to get to know them, and you get past just the surface level, your prejudgment of who this person is, and then you start developing like a bond and joking around and just starting to do life, and it kind of develops over time.
So you're saying I was that guy?
You were that guy. You caught that? I caught that.
I think I caught that. Yeah.
Honey, I don't know if hey, babe, what'd you think about group today? Well, it was cool, but that Adam guy, man.
Kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about that whole development was, at least for me anyway, because before you go to boot camp or any life group, I guess in general, you're kind of given expectations and told, hey, this is how this is going to work and this, that, and the other. And so being the first time that I've gone through something like that, not just a men's retreat, but just a big church function like that in general, I was pretty nervous and anxious, I guess, and maybe even a little angry.
Well, let's be honest. You wanted to leave.
Yeah,
I mean,
did.
let's just call it
straight up,
yeah.
man.
I mean, there's always a pocket of guys that are like this. Not sure why I'm here. I don't want to be here. I mean, what time did it actually break? It was like Saturday?
Probably a day and a half.
Yeah.
Almost 2 days. Yeah. But I mean, what's funny is I knew 75% of the guys there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like there was an uncomfortableness about who was there and just being with a group of people. I mean, even our life group, I knew, Sean, one of the guys.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot to say about the enemy and how he seeps into those anxiety cracks and stuff like that. And I've never been anxious like that before. And so, there was a lot of that there was an expectation that was given to all of us. And I was kind of, as a military guy, we were, we wanted to go just the way it's planned as much as possible. But I think the beauty of our group, at least over the last year, it's been very organic. Even when we left boot camp and we were encouraged to keep in touch with each other, that's kind of how it started. But now, a year later, I mean, we wake up to prayers, and stuff like that. And so it just became very organic, which is pretty cool.
For something like that to happen, you got to have good leaders. So you guys have been, I mean it.
Zach
you
is a good leader, yes.
Committed. Well, y'all are the ones that are leading the group, and so, cause you guys hear this, for as many stories like this, there's stories out there of our group fizzled out. We had a hard time staying connected. I mean, I've struggled there, a lot, but there's also community outside of this. I would say probably you're in a life group. Yeah, I know you go and do some stuff with the Ritters and these guys. You've been in Reengage, not with you guys. So it's not like we're not, married at the hip. Mm-hmm. We're just real, true friends. And so you guys have been through Reengage in different time seasons. You're in a different life group. I'm guessing, right? Mm-hmm. And you're in our life group. Talk a little bit. You said a minute ago about when we met years back, but kind of surface level. But there was a moment, talk into that just for a second, because you said it. Men get real. Mm-hmm. We've talked about boot camp a lot, but this is a back porch. It doesn't have to be boot camp. Let's say it has nothing to do with boot camp. You're at a point in life where you realize I've got to get with one man and I have to be real. I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, without going too much down the rabbit hole, I mean, I've been married for 12 years and only really been married for 2, if I'm being quite honest with you. But it got real with you and I just on a back porch, your back porch actually. And that was, you weren't aware of it at the time, but I'd gotten kicked out of the house and was sleeping in my truck for the last 24, 48 hours. Right. And
he comes to a game to watch at 2:00 and 11 o'clock, Rachel's like, what's going on? She's looking at me through the window. I'm like, I don't know, man. He won't leave. What's going on? But there was finally a moment.
Well, if I knew that beforehand, I would have left a lot earlier.
But now fast forward, because you don't have to go in the rabbit hole, but fast forward. I mean, because one thing after that, being in the pit and all the things, there's been a hunger to be a spiritual leader in your home.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, there was a session at boot camp where I actually disagreed with a little bit to an extent. And, talking about how important it is for the husband and the father to be that spiritual leader in a family. Well, to be quite honest with you, for 10 years of our family, my wife and daughter have been the spiritual leaders. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I had zero faith. I was a skeptic. I hated going to church. I mean, it was just, didn't want any part of it. But they were the glue that held our family together.
Yeah.
Truth be told.
Yeah.
And after boot camp, and I won't go through the Coach Quinn creepy scenario, but
Was it creepy or was it awesome?
it was awesome.
Okay,
but
you heard from God.
At the time, I was like, dang. But no. But one of the things, that they tell us at boot camp is, don't go home and vomit everything because your family may not be ready to receive that. Well, I totally ignored it, and I just went home and vomited everything. But one of those things that encounter with God that worked through Coach was, one of the questions he had asked me randomly was, when you get home, who do you want to confront? Mm-hmm. And the first thing that came to my head were my girls. And so part of that conversation when I got home was, say I'm sorry to both of them equally. And my eldest and my wife, and that I was going to run this ship now. Yeah. And I appreciate them, steering it for as long as they have. And, but I'm going to take it now. And so ever since then, that was kind of the base of that conversation. Ever since then, that's kind of been my goal. So
we've talked a lot to guys about getting on mission. And, biblically, our wives submitting to the husband, this isn't authoritative. You're going to submit to me and come underneath my leadership. You're actually connected together. But when a man gets on a mission, there is now something to submit to. And if you're not on a mission, then there's no sub to it, right? So what really you're describing is, hey, I'm on a mission here. And what's cool is now fast forward a year later, you got an airman group that meet, you got a guy getting baptized, you got another guy give his life to Jesus, you're serving together. And, and that has nothing to do with this table. Mm-hmm. It's a whole nother extension of guys, because once this gets in you and you realize the power of this community and accountability,
nailed it.
You want to give it away to other people, man, because it's just what you do. So we did. I want to backtrack. We talked a little bit about when you had the issue with the tumor. Mm-hmm. What did this look like in y'all's friendship? Were you a part of that? Was this a season where gosh, I wish I'd have done more?
No. Well, that one was tough. So I remember from another friend in our life group, we got our fire team got the call and that you were having these issues and you were heading to the emergency room. And then that's when we sat. It was one of those feelings. It was just really tough because of the specific way that everything happened. We were all just kind of bystanders, and Franz can probably talk to that. But it was emergency room. We're outside praying in the parking lot. That's all I could do. We drove up there, and this was I can remember this
fast.
Well, it happened fast, but the tumor had been probably growing for 20 years.
yeah.
But I didn't find it until May of 2020, which is right at the height of COVID. Yeah. And then nobody could come in, and it was probably the most alone experience because I had to fight to get my wife to come back to the ER, or at least because we'd found it. And then and that's a whole nother deal. I thought I was having problems with my neck, and they did an MRI on my neck and my back, and they could just kind of barely see the tumor. And they're like, you need to go to the emergency room. And I was like, nah, right? He's like, really? Wow. Are you sure about that? And then so I go and I call Jessica, and she's just like, that's not funny. You know what I mean? Because she thinks I'm joking because I'm not serious.
You joke sometimes?
Yeah.
On occasion.
Yeah. And then, I go, and so she started kind of reaching out to people and stuff. And while it all happened in an instant, they found it, and then that was on a Wednesday. Wait a minute. Was that on a Wednesday?
It was on the weekend.
No, it was on a Friday or something
it was
or Thursday or Friday. And then, that Monday I was in Dallas and had the first surgery on Tuesday and the second surgery on Wednesday. And then I was out of there by that Friday. Or actually, I think I waited over till Monday to go. Mm-hmm. And then I came home, and, COVID was still kind of crazy. Yeah. And, I think at first it was kind of one of those experiences that was so hard that I just couldn't be around people. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then Adam, kind of where Adam comes in, is he's been kind of riding this crazy train with me, starting to kind of get back to normal. You know what I mean? Whatever normal is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's been really helpful because, we talk, and, he's telling me, keeps reminding me of who I was and who I am, and how that's different than I'm acting, and it's kind of nice to have somebody that I can talk to and
He'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
you can trust.
Yes, he's being.
Adam will definitely.
Sometimes
do
he
that.
needs to stop being so honest, but no.
But I mean, hey, how much does your wife appreciate the relationship
does,
that you
yeah,
have?
definitely.
In all seriousness, and
Yeah.
probably your wife would say the same thing. Like, thank God that there's these people in my husband's life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I 100% listen to my wife, and I never.
There you go.
So I couldn't even finish that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
These guys' wives both work here.
Yeah,
Franz's
so-
wife is the women's pastor.
Yeah.
Deidre works here. She just kind of behind the scenes does all sorts of stuff. And I promise you, they're outside here just, oh my gosh, what are they saying?
What are they talking about?
Please, Lord.
well, it's truthfully, Adam is always confirming what Jessica keeps trying to tell me, and I'm not listening.
Yeah, man. We call that third party credibility. Sometimes we need a little bit of that. Happens with our kids. I don't know if y'all experience this, but I can tell them one thing, and it's like right over their head. And then they come home and they say, "Hey, Coach Ruffin said," and I'm like, "I've been saying that for."
Yeah, right.
Franz did the exact same thing to me. I remember driving to go hunting, actually, and it was one of those times, and we were going through a rough patch, my wife and I, and here I am venting / whining and complaining.
Kind of little,
And
little
that's
man fit.
And that is when he stopped me right there and was like, "What are you gonna do?" And like, I wanted that. You know what? Yeah, you're right. That's not right. She needs to. And instead, it was, dude, you need to get your stuff together.
Yeah.
And it was tough because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it, but it was coming from a close friend who I knew me better than sometimes I know myself. Yeah.
A brother that wants to see you win.
And 100% set me straight, like in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can tell you've done that with me and don't even realize it. Franz and I, we've been developing a relationship. We're year one. Y'all are year 6. We're getting same here. I'm getting to know you guys, known Cameron a little longer. But even real quick out of the gate, I've never had someone actually say, "Hey, how can I be a good friend to you?" I'm like, "Whoa, I'm very relational. I typically make the call more times than the call comes this way, and that's just because I'm an action taker, a connector." But like that really stymied me. Like I don't know how to answer that. No one's ever asked me that, so I appreciate you.
I don't know that I've ever asked anybody that. Just so you know, but
Well, hey man, I appreciate it because I even told Rachel, I was like, I've
like
never
that,
had
Lord.
anyone ask me this. I don't.
that led me for that one.
I love
how
you.
to respond.
I appreciate it. But then my response after really thinking through has something to do with my kids, and he's followed up and been an accountability butt.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
What'd you call
Kind
it?
of Billabuddy.
There it is. Nailed it.
I'm not even gonna try to say it,
Nailed it.
No.
just to spite Adam.
Is it an Air Force term?
No,
These guys
Okay,
are in the air.
good.
Yeah, you guys.
I was scared about that. Like
Cameron
my brain
doesn't
was-
work at Abilene Wiley, although he represents it often. He actually represents. Works for the United States military. We do appreciate you guys. Shout out to anybody that's first responder or works in the military or in any kind of way to serve. Man, we super appreciate you guys. I know y'all don't like when we do that. So we did that, said that once, but you don't get the choice of it sitting here.
Adam doesn't like it.
Adam,
I'll
you
eat it
like
up.
I'll take.
He'll take it. He'll take
I'll
it.
give it to me. Okay, let's shift gears. We've talked a lot about brothering. We could go on and on with that. I think, man, thinking through something Adam really said is key. As kids, we desire this. We want to be picked on the playground. We want to be on the team. We want to be in the huddle. We want to be, all the things. Maybe it's in the band. I mean, any group. There's just groups. You see it naturally happen. I've got 2 kids in school. We all do. They go into groups some sort of way. You pray your kids have great friend groups. Some even pray some out, pray some in, for real.
Amen.
But like that doesn't change. And I think the enemy tells us, hey, here you're 21 and out the door. Now you got it all figured out. Hi-ho silver. And that's such a lie. The reality is we always are going to need that at any stage of life, at any age. From being an orphan, coming into the kingdom, and now I'm a son. And in the stages of maturity, I'm becoming a man. And then after that is I'm becoming a father. And I think like where we're at, and just even by age, is we're in this man phase. We're protector, we're warrior. We've got our kids, our family, our buddies. But we probably all, I know I do, and I think you guys do too, look to maybe 1 or 2 people in your life that maybe, and age isn't always the thing, but where you see like, this is somebody I kind of receive as a father, or I see him as a mentor. Maybe it's a real close relationship. Maybe you see him from afar. I mean, it could be some you even listen to, you engage with. Ideally is that in our life's journey, we don't die And I want everyone to hear this clearly. The goal is not to die and go, man, I was a really good brother. That's not the goal. That's all monument about me. The goal is, man, I was a father to a lot of great brothers who also became fathers to other great brothers. So you're calling guys into that. So with that being said, who is somebody you see in your life, either right now or in a certain season, that you would say, I think I looked at him like a dad?
So I wasn't going to answer first because I'm kind of outside the box on this one.
It's okay.
I know, yeah. But, you know, a little behind the curtain, my father, as long as I've known him, has had some significant mental health issues.
Okay.
And so I didn't get a lot of that growing up. He was very supportive, but I never had a close relationship with my father. And so what I was going to say was, whether I knew it or not, regardless of where I was in my faith journey, it just seems like God put somebody in my life. And so I played a lot of sports.
Yeah, probably a coach.
Yeah. So I always had a coach who instilled in me a lot of life lessons and the discipline and everything that I needed at that time. And it just seems that wherever I was, kind of like in my faith journey as well, there was always somebody there. And it's funny because it just seems like whenever I reached out at any point in time, somebody was there to give me that. And
who would you say is there right now? Because just like you said, hey, we don't ever not need this, but I'd argue we also don't ever not need that.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot, to be fair, there's a ton of guys listening that relate to what you just said.
Yes.
And may not have even thought about, oh man, I may need a spiritual dad.
Yeah. And so I would say two of them right now one is definitely my father-in-law.
Yeah.
Jim, shout out.
Awesome.
He's definitely, whether he knows it or not, has come into my life at very specific points and given me the encouragement, or just, I don't know.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love
then I have a friend at work, same thing. He was a former DO of mine, and he's a civilian now, but same thing. He'll walk in my office without me saying a word, close the door and be like, tell me what's going on. And pray with me right there.
It's awesome.
And so those are the two probably right now. But like I said, it's just been every so often, just someone will go, someone will come, and it's just the right person at the right time.
I love it. How about you?
I was so enthralled in his story that I just was not even thinking about who that was supposed to be.
Who's someone that spiritually fathered you?
Randy Reese.
Yeah.
Really. So just really quickly, the very, very shortened version is I was an unbeliever, and at 32 got saved on a walk to Emmaus, which was like a spiritual weekend type thing. And that's a whole nother crazy story. And then like my wife and I were separated and getting a divorce. And so that happened on Saturday that I got saved, and we're in re-engage on Wednesday. So then Randy heard about our story, and then we got into re-engage because that was like a stipulation, because I was like, I want to stay married. Like, finally have the lights on. I can think clearly. And Randy really helped me kind of just in the beginning, walk through like, oh my God, like, what does this mean to like, be a Christian man? You know, what does it mean to be a man? Like, I could call him or talk to him and be like, hey, this is what's going on today, and I'm struggling with this. And he just always listened, and he was willing to just at least gently encourage me, in the right direction, but not only do that, but then, tell me just the absolute truth.
Yeah.
But it was like he was compassionate about it.
Yeah.
And it made me want to continue that journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One quality I find out of spiritual dads is they don't have anything to gain. Mm-hmm. Jim has nothing to gain from you. Reese had nothing to gain from you. He just wants to see you become the kingdom man you're saying you want to be.
Yeah.
It's powerful. A lot of people don't find relationships like that. You got to seek. I mean, guys are listening. You can't sit around the couch and hope this falls in your lap.
Yeah.
If you catch one thing of any bit of this series, it's that we have become seeker. I mean, we've said this before already. Seek first the kingdom of God. When we talk about the kingdom, we're talking about family, the rule and reign of Jesus in your life, the government of heaven. Like seeking this, Jesus brought the establishment of Father. and even to see God this way. And we're not talking about putting men in the place of God at all. We're just talking about helping men see the right representation of what a father can be, so that then you can seek him that way. And really what Randy was doing, what Jim does, is he models how to be a son to you. And it's just powerful. How about you?
Well, so, I mean, my dad, I've been very blessed with an amazing father. I mean, he's like my best friend.
Yeah.
Comes down still. I mean, he's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Will make time to, since I joined the military, he's been to every base I've been stationed at overseas, stateside, doesn't matter. I mean, even when, I was drinking a lot, he made a 2.5 hour drive just to come tell me I have a problem.
Yeah.
And then he left and went back home. I mean, he's that kind of dad.
Yeah.
And so he's always been there for me. He grew up in the Episcopal Church, but we weren't really, we didn't really dive into it as much as probably he would have wanted us to. But anyways, so my dad has been big on that front. And then you, Zach, I mean, you spiritually, you've probably been the biggest spiritual father that I've had. Just, going from trying to sell me Advocare to selling God to me.
I never tried to do that.
Whatever, Jason's
Plug
Deli.
that out. Keep it in.
I remember
You can keep it in. It is. Hey, at one point in my life, we were really involved in network marketing.
Oh, I know
got
you were
saved
involved.
in it, man. I gave my life to Jesus there. It was the greatest thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
And then we lost it all.
If you would have,
It was like Thanos, man. You know when he snaps the finger?
Yeah.
It's like he came into that company. Just, boom.
well, if you would have started your pitch with,
I never pitched
got
that,
saved
dude.
with my, anyways.
I never pitched that at you, man.
no,
Tell the
but
truth. I never pitched that at you.
You didn't pitch.
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Anyways, but no, but seriously, I mean, as we were, as we got to know each other, found out that we were in Athens, Texas together at one
Yeah.
point. Didn't realize it years ago. But I think the conversation that I always remember us having, that I still tell this story to even to this day. We kind of talked about sitting on your back porch and
Yeah.
me never leaving your house and wondering what's going on. But that I hit rock bottom. I mean, I was at rock bottom pretty hard, and kind of like you, Franz, just was not a non-believer. I think you sent me to Reboot one time, and I went
Yeah.
there, and I was freaked out, and I
You
decided
hung
to
out
leave
with
early.
friends, yeah.
Yep, and but you've been the push, man. I think that's what a lot of these guys and just people in general need is
Yeah,
if
a nudge.
well, not just a nudge. Sometimes it takes a punch, because that wall that I built keeping God out was so thick and high that, throughout my life that, I mean,
Yeah.
you're like, let's go. You're coming with me.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But when we were talking on your back porch, and I told you everything that I had done, the one thing you said was like, "Oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you my story."
Yeah.
And
I don't know if I might have said it that way, but I remember
it was
well.
it was something like that.
Yeah.
But
You're not alone, man.
It was at that moment
Yeah.
though, and kind of backtracking to what we've talked about earlier in terms of brotherhood and community is when you go to these things and you're a part of events like boot camp, or you're a part of a fire team or re-engage or whatever it may be, you realize that you are not alone.
Yeah, it's great.
And people are in same situations or worse situations
Yeah.
that need what you have. And so,
Yep.
anyways, you were that push.
Well, thanks. That means a lot. Well, hey, I told you guys time flies. We are at the end of the road, so appreciate you guys. I know that we could keep doing this, and maybe we will. But yeah, hopefully you guys gained something out of that. I know you heard boot camp a lot. There's, hopefully registrations are still open, and we'll be doing that in Waxahachie, Texas here in September.
Home of the
Indians.
There
Yep,
we go.
they do the chop there. Anyway, all right, great.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and feel encouraged. For links and resources mentioned today, take a look at the description below this video. Lastly, we want to ask just 2 quick favors. First, if this mini-series blessed you in any way, leave us a comment on one of the videos that encouraged you or taught you something you didn't know. And 2, if you'd like this content, do us a favor and share this mini-series with a friend. You never know how much it could matter and be the very thing that your friend needs right now. Thanks so much for watching this special edition of the Beyond Sundays podcast. Until next time, we hope you guys have an amazing day. And remember, God is always moving, and He's moving in your life too. Beyond Sundays. Bye.